It's been something like 4 or 5 days that I've had DOMs in my abs. Yeah, just the rectus abdominis is continuously sore. Getting up from a couch or a bed or whatever. Even the other day when I was doing bench press, it was excruciating just getting off and on the damn thing. But sore abs. And then thanks to 2 days ago, my whole back is sore now. Traps, lats, rectors. I'm pretty much beat up. The whole torso is beat up. My ribs also are sore now. You gotta laugh, man. You gotta laugh at these moments. Like, I'm saying this, I'm sore or whatever, but deep down there's like a satisfaction about all of this. I don't know why, because I know that soreness is, it's not a good indicator of an effective training session or whatever. But it feels good to know what's being worked for these exercises. These rack pulls, man. These damn rack pulls. One of you guys said, why don't you go back to the RDLs and see what you got? Because, last time I did it, I had 200 for 5x5. I like RDLs. The only thing with RDLs I don't like is that it's kind of awkward getting in and out of it, man. Like, because you got to unrack it and then walk it out. I don't really like the walking with freaking 200 kilos in my hands. It's kind of just it's just awkward, and I always feel like I'm off balance, and it's just really awkward. If it was kind of on my shoulders, I think it would be better, but because it's in my hands and it's kind of really kind of hard to walk because you're hitting your legs and whatever. But I feel like rack pulls are just easier to live with, setting up and whatever, and it kind of breaks up that concentric, eccentric, breaks up the phases, and it gets you to re-tension your core. It gets you to lock up, which I think is beneficial. And anytime you can kind of increase that ritual frequency, like the frequency of, locking your lats down, locking your abs down, I think that's really, really beneficial. I think with the RDLs, man, you're tightening up in a comfortable position at the top, which is unlike a deadlift. A deadlift gets you to lock up in a kind of bent over, awkward position. So I think the rack pull has that in its advantage. Whereas in RDL, man, like you're standing with the bar, like there's no resistance. There is some resistance, but it's not like when you're leaning over. So I feel like for that aspect, there's better carryover in the rack pull. Because like I said yesterday, like the whole idea of breaking that initial inertia from the pins is very, very difficult, especially at that mid-shin, kind of upper third shin level. It's just really, really awkward. You don't have that little pop that you get with the quads, just pushing that inertia through, So that's why I like the rack pulls. But the rack pulls, man, they have beat me up like crazy. So I did 3 sets of 3 at 220, I think, the other day, and I'm feeling it big time, man. I was actually thinking about doing the rack pulls today. I set the pins lower. You can see last night I did all the banging and things last night. I really don't like adjusting these safety pins in the morning because they're kind of awkward. You got 2 holes to get through, and it's just a freaking racket. And I want to make a racket at 4:30 in the morning. So I did that last night with the hopes of doing it. But this morning I woke up and I'm like, no way in hell, man. There's no way in hell I'm going to go through this. The traps are sore, man. You guys know I keep telling you that the front squats, if you want a freaking yoke, man, front squats. So yesterday I did 10 doubles at 140. The day before I did rack pulls. My traps are sore. They're kind of sore, not just like at the thing that we see, like the top traps. I'm actually sore like down where the rhomboids are, like really deep shoulder retractors. I think that aspect is from the rack pull, and the upper aspect is from the front squat. I think, I don't really know, man, but that combination between rack pulls and front squats, man, if you want an upper back strength, that's where it is. And yesterday I told you guys about, thinking about rack pulls and thinking about what it offers you in terms of core strength and being a posterior chain plus core strength. And then I kind of mentioned about, strength off the floor in the deadlift. And, I kind of alluded to that you need quads for that. You do need quads for that, but I have to be honest with you, it's not the quads that, got my deadlift going in recent months. I thought it was the quads, and I kind of mentioned in yesterday's video, but I think it's more about the upper body, upper back. One of you guys in the community mentioned something about upper back to me. That kind of planted the seed, and I started thinking about it. Initially, I was like, that doesn't make any sense to me. But the upper back, the way I understand it is, it's all about the shoulder girdle, essentially. That's kind of why I think about it. If you go back, and you think about locking into your deadlift when it's on the floor, that starting position, and you put all your might into it, and for whatever reason, whatever the lacking muscle is, but you unglue your lats, your shoulders rather, and your shoulders kind of round over, so up and over, you're basically bleeding that initial strength off the floor. So in order for you to be good on the floor, this is how I think about it, you have to make sure that those that shoulder girdle, those shoulders are locked in. So that initial force that you apply into the bar doesn't get wasted by these shoulders to unglue. Because you have to think about it, the force has to go through the shoulders, so up the arms, through the shoulders, and kind of into the legs, or the other way around. Like we're applying it the other way around. So we're pushing with our legs, but then if the shoulders start to round over, you're losing it. You know what I mean? So for me, I think, that whole ritual that I do with the shoulder shrug and then I lock it down, I'll do that for one reason, and that's to really put the shoulders on the map for my brain, so I know they're locking in. So I know that this is locked in. Obviously, you need the quads. You need the quads, obviously, to push off the floor initially. But you want to make sure that you limit that leak. And I think ever since I started doing front squats, that's kind of improved. Even though, this is the really weird thing about front squats. Even though in the front squat, you are fully protracting your shoulders. You're sending your shoulders forward and up, right? That's kind of what I'm doing. I'm trying to push the elbows up. But that, for some reason, hits the living hell out of the upper back. Also, there is a force, like I said, that wants to drop your shoulders. So I'm fighting the shoulders up, and I think that fighting the shoulders up engages the upper back, and that kind of carries over to the deadlift. So I think between the front squat and the rack pull, you're going to address the upper back kind of weakness off the floor, and then you'll be in good stead. But man, just get ready for soreness. That's all I can tell you, because this morning session, I basically came in here after I woke up, man. I knew it was going to be a struggle. So I just did some sit-ups, man. Even though I'm sore 4 or 5 days now of from in the abs, I've kind of gone, okay, screw it. Let's just do a bit more sit-ups. I feel like sit-ups are, I don't know, man. They get a bad light, man, but they've been really, really effective for me for that anterior core. One of the reasons that I'm doing sit-ups is to combat all the stuff that I'm doing for the lower back. I keep talking about this, but the anterior pelvic tilt is on my mind. It's always on my mind. And part of the anterior pelvic tilt is that you have overworked, over tight lower back muscles, erectors. And so what is the other side of that net in the tennis match? Is the abs. So the lower back and the abs are the opposites, right? One does posterior tilt, one does anterior tilt. So if you're anterior pelvic tilting, strengthen the other guy, basically, man. The fact that I'm deadlifting and squatting all the time, and the way I squat, it only makes sense that I'm going to have tight lower back. So doing these regular sit-ups basically just is aimed at restoring that lower back tension. Because when I'm doing these sit-ups, if you guys notice, I'm continuously rounding over my back, stretching my lower back. And so if you know about agonist and antagonist action, if the agonist contracts, the antagonist has to relax. So when I'm doing sit-ups, the lower back has to relax for me to actually sit up. So that's one thing. And then on the other side, you got the hamstrings and the quads. They also kind of work opposites. And then in between all of that, you have the hip flexors, which are kind of on the same team as the lower back. So there's a whole bunch of plays there, but I don't really do anything to train hip flexion. And I've kind of recently identified that hip flexion is a very, very important aspect of training. And so I'm doing that. You know, if I'm doing back or hip extension every single freaking day with squatting and deadlifting, why don't I do some hip flexion every single day with sit-ups? That's kind of the reasoning behind all that. The idea here is to just restore balance of the body. And this is the thing, like, you know, for some of you guys that don't squat every day, your ratios are going to be different to mine because I squat every single day. I'm always thinking about restoring balance. I told you guys a long time ago now that initially I got into squat every day with the belief that all you really need to do is squat and everything will be good. False. One thing that I've learned is that you cannot only squat. And I think there's no one exercise that you can just exist with. There needs to be something to oppose that movement. Whether it's hip flexion, hip extension, shoulder abduction, shoulder adduction, like there needs to be an opposite equal to restore balance. It only makes sense. So this is why I'm doing sit-ups. I am broken body right now and I'm looking at a 12-hour shift, but it is what it is. So I have to fight through it and get through it. But abs are sore, ribs are sore, traps are sore, lats are sore, erectors are sore. Legs feeling pretty good actually. It's just the upper half of me is absolutely wasted. Anyway, guys, let me wrap this up and get to work. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Oh, before I forget, all the names on the list, I thank you very much for your support. I don't want to let go or even one video without mentioning you guys. Thank you everyone in the comments. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.